Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott wave update for CHAINLINK. I'm going to talk about the updated count here, but just wanted to go over last video and how the pattern changed. So this is from 10 days ago. This was my last update. I had this as a wave 1 and 2, potentially complete as a WXY, zigzag X triangle. Now this is one of those patterns I talk about that ends up being very bullish when we get some sort of flat three-wave patterns making higher highs. This is a very bullish pattern. I also suggested, since it was very unclear whether this was a triangle or not, to wait to trigger in. Not financial advice, just what I was doing for my trade idea. Above the X wave high here in red. Stop goes wherever this low ends up being for our Y wave. So that's why I did that. And if we go back to the real chart here, you can see that level I suggested to wait to trigger above was right here. And as long as you waited for that, you shouldn't have gotten chopped into this area, right? That's why I do that, because it wasn't clear, had this as the end of the triangle here, as an A, B, C, D, E. Possibly complete, but we ended up coming a little lower. That's why I waited to trigger in. I wasn't clear on the pattern, because we don't know if it's a triangle till it follows through, right? We're not going to know in real time. But as you can see, we ended up making the move we were looking for, the direction to the upside, but I do not think this is a third wave quite yet. Within the middle of a third wave, but I mean like our extended third wave we're moving for now. So let's talk about how the count ended up being. This ended up being a WXY with a triangle X. You can see how complex these structures are, and it's hard to know till it's complete until you start impulsing to the upside. So again, my trading idea was to wait for the break of this level right here, stop wherever the low ends up being for calculating position size. So that's where we're at, and updated counts, I think we're getting a 1-2-1-2. So, as you know, for our second 1-2, I look for between the 618 and the 1-1 extension of the 1-2 of one larger degree. We're right in that zone. We can start building our evidence. Do we have 5 waves complete? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flat there for our micro 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So technically a 5-wave move complete into the zone we're looking for. So what does that tell us? Well, we can build more evidence to see if we're complete. If we put on our pitchfork here, or sorry, our Fibonacci extensions off the micro 1 and 2, you can see we came up just shy of the 2.618 extension. So this third wave in white was extended. We were expecting in this area. That's why we always put up that 2.618. You can see it came just shy, but it was an extended wave. This fifth wave in white also was extended. When we're targeting this, we usually look for the 1-to-1 extension of wave 1 off of wave 4. So we're looking for it to top about 1203 if you're tracking this in real time on the smaller time frames. But what we ended up doing, this is why we put on these targets when we get extensions, is the length of wave 1 through wave 3. Off of wave 4, we hit the 618 extension. So you can see this is why you always have these tools in mind, because if you're up in this level and you saw a 3-wave move rather than a 5-wave into that 5th wave, you could say, okay, maybe we're getting one more move higher. Let me put on the new extension rather than just the extension of wave 1 off of wave 4, which came up shy. You can say, okay, we might be getting a 1 through 3 extension. As you can see, we only had 3 waves up to that level. So that's how you can kind of go in between, and it's obviously something you have to do in real time once you see just 3 waves in this area. So we can even go into the 15-minute, take our wave 1 in wave 5, put on our extensions. You can see we hit the 1.618 extension for our third wave as a 1, 2, 3. 4, and we hit between that 200 and 2.236 we always look for. So you can see this works on every time frame. You just have to adjust and make sure your wave counts are all there. So this looks pretty good. One thing to always keep in mind, we can always fail on these rallies, right? We have a 5-3-5. It very much mimics an ABC. So this is either a 1-2-1-2 if we come down to these levels, or it's an ABC. How are we going to know which one? We won't. We do not know which one we're getting. We won't know until we come down to this level, see if we have a 3 or a 5 wave, and the reaction at our standard areas we expect, between the 382 and the 786, ideally between the 50 and the 786 for our second 1-2. We can come shyer just to the 4th wave of 1 lesser degree. We'll have to see. Let's see if we have any other structure on the larger time frames that can help us out. I'd like to hold above this wave 1. We do have a little bit of structure previously that can be used as our support right here, as you can see. So as of right now, I see this as a 1-2-1-2. Now, there are times we get very shy retracements, so we can just get a 2-3-6, but we want to stick to guidelines and pay attention. So ideally, we come between the 50 and the 786 of this last move to the upside. So how I tend to play these situations is I want to see a move to the downside. That would most likely just be a W wave and perhaps a WXY, 3-3-3. Or if we come down a little faster, perhaps we get a 5-wave move there, come back up, and make another 5-wave move, something like this. So we're going to have to be paying attention, but if it starts to break out, that's an opportunity as well, where we could get an extended 5th wave. This is where you never know what's going to happen, but you have strategies in every situation, right? Because what if this does just continue to the upside? What if this just continues? Well, in that scenario, I'd most likely label this as an extended 5th wave. We'd get our 1-2, 3-4-5, and this is a 1-2-3-4, very extended 5th wave. And I'd be looking for the 1.618 extension of wave 1 off of wave 2. That's up at 1566. Can you trade that? Yes, you can. In case this turns into some sort of expanded flat, you'd use invalidation levels of the expanded flat zone. So you take the length of the first move down. Maybe it's complete, maybe it's not. You'd have to do that in real time. Put on the 1.236, 1.382, and the 1.618. So based on the wave count in here, if I see a 5-wave move up to this level, but again, you'd be watching, looking for that 5-wave move and a pullback, I would use my strategies as either the break of the B or the break of the 1.618 extension, where this can no longer be a expanded flat, right? Would be at 1296. You'd have to pull your exact pivots for that, but that's just how I would play that, right? And then this would be our 1 and 2. Look for our 3rd wave to the upside within the 5th wave. Hopefully I'm not confusing too many people. I know this is kind of advanced strategy, but you have to think of how waves invalidate themselves. And we have 5 waves up right into our zone for our 1-2 of 1 lesser degree. So the invalidation of this high in is that 1.618 extension of this wave to the downside. But hopefully we just go with guidelines. We just come down here, come down between the 50 and the 786. That's the easiest way to resolve here. And then we're looking for our 3rd wave to the upside. So CHAINLINK looking very bullish, but I will wait for a nice 3-wave move, and I will update this when I get my entry in. Looks like it should be sometime early next week. But if you're more of a swing trader, this is just a trade idea. You make your own decisions. This is not financial advice. Obviously, the invalidation of a 1-2-1-2 as at the beginning of this wave 1. That's around, let me get the exact pivot here, 994 on Binance. Oh, one thing as well, just to resolve this area here, this is actually a flat B wave. That's why this C wave did not make a lower low below the extreme of the B wave here, but it did make a lower low below this A wave, just in case there's any question there. So what I'm looking for is a move to the downside here for our wave 2 and absolute launch for our wave 3 if that's the case. If we fail here, this is an ABC and we're going to make a move to the downside. So pay attention to the count, see if we get corrective price action rather than impulsive to the downside. That's your early tell, because if for whatever reason you get a clean 5-wave move to the downside that falls pretty quickly compared to the move to the upside, there is a chance to grab a short as well, but I will make sure to update that. All right, guys, so further out targets here. Let's do a hypothetical. So we'd be pulling from the second one too. If we came to, say, the 50, again, I don't have a pivot to pull from, so we just have to kind of get an idea. If we get a 1, 2 to the 50, we'd be looking for our third wave up around $16, get our fourth to the 100% extension as of right now, and look for our third wave. It looks like we might get an extension past the 1.618 as well, perhaps to the 2.618 up around $20. We have to see where this this correction finishes, right, to be able to get accurate fib pulls, but that is definitely a option. I'd be looking for our fourth and our fifth. This would all create, out on the 4-hour, a 1 and a 2 within our third wave of one larger degree. As you can see, we have a 1, 2. That would be our 1, 2. Okay, so potentially some pretty extreme price action to the upside. Everything looking nice and clean so far, except for that beginning area right here. That was very difficult to track. If you decided to make your decision there and take my advice and wait for that, you should be in the profit right now. But just realize this is most likely a 1, 2, 1, 2 rather than an extended fifth wave. It's most likely a 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so we'll see if we get this move to the downside. Suggestions, things you can keep in mind if you're more of a swing trader is I would usually buy the 382, the 50, and the 618, or you can do the 236, 382, and the 50. But whatever your average price is, if it's the 382, 50, and the 618, your average price would be the 50. So if you use 1% risk like I do, you would just divide each of these levels by 3, and your average price would be the 50. And stop at this low, right? Very easy. If you're doing this on smaller time frames, I usually wait all the way down to the 3-minute level or less, and I'd be looking for a completed correction where if we get something like an ABCX, ABC, I'd want to see 5 waves down in this C wave of the Y, or this is something like a WXY. This doesn't look like an impulse, so I would expect this to be something more three wave-ish. I'd be looking for 5 waves within this Y wave, wait for the break of the fourth within this Y wave. We have our 3, 4, 5. Look for a pullback, and my entry to leverage up my position would be something like this. And you know we're targeting way up there. But that's obviously more if you're at the charts all day like I am, looking for the perfect risk reward setup. And If you're taking trades like that, your risk reward will be phenomenal, but you will win less often than the swing traders that just have their stop down here, right? Allow more patterns, more corrections to fill out, where I'm trying to pick an exact bottom. Now, when I'm correct, obviously it goes very good my way. You're talking like less than a 1% move usually, most of the time. But each trading method has its pros and cons. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, let me know. But that's how I see the market. I see this as a 1-2-1-2 currently. And if we absolutely collapse and fall faster than we move to the upside, then I'd want to count this wave formation, see if it is possible that it's a wave 1 and 2 to the downside. All right, guys, so that's it for CHAINLINK. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.